Right, hello, I'm Ellie from Kent Libraries. This year, Kent Libraries Registration Archive are delighted to be celebrating Black History Month and its theme, Proud to Be. Today, I'm chatting with Emily Ghassempour, co-founder of Folkestone-based Books for Change. Emily and Wendy have working hard to diversify Folkestone school libraries since lockdown 1. Motivated by a call to action from the Black Lives Matter movement, the pair have gone on to achieve big things for the local area and beyond. Emily has lived in Folkestone for 15 years, has experienced racism and prejudice firsthand, but from this hatred and fear, so much good has come. Emily was recently selected to be a judge for the Children's Longlist category for the Diverse Book Awards 2021, and it's my absolute pleasure to chat with Emily and find out about her role as judge and more. So how are you, Emily? And over to you.
Thanks, Ellie. Gosh, that's a lovely welcome. Thank you. It's
well deserved.
Thank you. It's it's a privilege to have been asked to be interviewed for this. So thank you. I'm really well. I'm really looking forward to us chatting.
So can you tell us a little bit about being a judge on the awards and how it came about?
Yes, I know. Well, it came about purely because, it was Wendy who actually found the opportunity. There was a kind of call out amongst the sort of book world, book sort of publishing world. Obviously, we've set up all our social media handles. So once you kind of get into that world, you start linking with lots of different organisations and things. So Wendy basically had seen this call out saying, could you be a judge? And she was like, this is for you, you've got to put your name forward. So she fantastically did all the paperwork and sent it all off. And I thought, oh, there's no way, I'll get picked because it's quite a prestigious thing. Lots and lots of people applied for it as well. So again, it was just such a surprise and a real honour to be chosen for the children's long list, which is the role that I took on. So it was absolutely fantastic, and I think it probably would have been a bit different if COVID obviously hadn't been around. But it was all done online. It was all done. We had a Zoom meeting, and then everything was done via email, and all the books started getting sent to me in the post, which was fantastic. To have the postman every day, kind of knocking at the door with this big box full of books for me to read and for me to judge. So it was so lovely. It was such an honour, and it was amazing that I was able to share all the books with my children as well. So they were part of it, which was fantastic.
So how many books did you have to read, and what sort of age ranges were they aimed at?
So in total, I had to go back and check my list actually, because it was there was so many. It felt like there was so many, but in actual fact, there was 37 books in total. And they were all aimed at children. So they were obviously they were either picture books, children's picture books, or they were sort of small chapter books that were obviously aimed at kind of younger children, for sort of maximum age really, I would say was kind of around 8. And so from very young, from literally kind of like preschool age up to 8, I thought I was very much doing the children's section of the awards.
And was it difficult to judge, the different, like a picture book against a book for an older child, or did you just go on gut feeling like, yeah, this is a great story?
Do you know what? It was really hard because there was just the caliber was unreal. I mean, it really was like, wow, these books are just not anything like the books that I had, when I was growing up as a kid, and that was a really beautiful moment in a way to kind of eventually have all the books in one big pile and just be going through them and thinking, gosh, if that was around when I was, a child, it would have been a different education, I think, and feeling of being in school for me personally. Maybe we'll come on to talk about that in a little while, but in terms of the books, I very much do go on my gut feeling with things. Obviously, there's a lots of hype out there around some of the ones that are, the latest ones that are going to be the big thing. But I tried not to get involved in all of that. I tried not to read too many kind of external articles and things, and just very much went on how I was feeling about that book. I think when you know, you know.
And did you then get together to discuss your decisions, or was that sort of at the end that you
No, there
judged the
wasn't
piles
really.
that you sort of said, yes, these are the ones I love?
Yeah, no, there wasn't really anything like that. It was very much individual judging. So we basically had to pick out our top 10
Mm-hmm.
of out of the books, and we had to rank them from our number one being our absolute best. This is the one we want to win, and obviously number 10 being, yes, it's still in the top 10. It's still fantastic, but it's at the bottom of the 1 to 10 category, which was so hard. I cannot even begin to tell you. I went round in circles with that. It was really tough, but it was a very much individual thing. We weren't sort of, again, because of COVID. I mean, I think we could have possibly done that on Zoom, but it would have been quite a long-winded process, I think, with people saying, oh well, I think this and I think that. So it was a case of each judge just putting in their top 10,
I
and
quite
then
like that, yes, that you weren't
yeah,
swayed by other people. It
no,
was, and you know your judging criteria is going to be equal across your reading. So yeah, I think that's, yeah. I
exactly,
know
yeah.
I've got this vision of, great arguments about which books can go through, but not quite
No,
as dramatic as
no,
that.
it wasn't quite as dramatic as that. I mean, there were arguments amongst my children. If that's any drama that you'd like to know about. No, mummy, this one, or no, mummy, I love this one. So that was quite fun in a way. They really did really genuinely get involved in it and really looked forward to kind of coming home from school, or I think they were at school at that time, and then they were locked down again, and we were homeschooling, and we kind of did it as a homeschooling project as well. Um, so no, there wasn't any rows, I'm afraid, Ellie. Sorry to
So
disappoint.
the books you get to read, have they been sort of weeded out before you get them? Have children looked at them? I mean, how, or is it just everything that is put forward you get?
Everything that's put forward, we get.
Right.
So anybody, the categories there for people to send it in, and they send it. So the main people who run diverse book awards, they get the book sent to them, and then they obviously gather them all, whichever
Mm.
into the different categories, and then send them to the relevant judges. So no, it was
So the judging is purely by you, the judges, when you get to read them. There's been no pre sort of weeding. So, wow, very exciting.
no.
Right.
So it can be quite, you can get some random ones in there. In all honesty, you think, oh, this isn't quite, and the things that I was looking for were very much around representation and it being done, authentically, and that that it was really done properly. It wasn't just kind of like tokenistic. The storylines were really grabbing and really exciting for children, and that you wanted to turn that page. You were just hooked, and there were some in there that were just absolutely incredible, real truths of the writers as well, really kind of exposing themselves and they're living their truth and really putting that into the story. And it was just wonderful, very moving to read.
Yeah, and I agree. Every book has got to be how good the story is. It's not, oh, it's got two black children in it, so we're going to publish that. It's got to be about the story. So,
The story and but the characters need to be, like real. Just to say,
mm,
oh, two black children in a story, but like, what do the children look like? Are they represented properly, or is it just a case of and that was the thing. I really looked at the illustrations as well. That
mhm.
was a real big thing for me. It wasn't just, this is an amazing story, but what about the illustrations? What about the pictures? How are these families being depicted? They're just families, having a great time, just being a normal family.
Mm,
But also looking at children of colour being the heroes in the story, really leading the
indeed,
story.
yes.
And that was a real big thing for me, was like, who are the main characters in this? Is it a diverse book just because it's got black and brown characters in it, or are those characters really leading the story and being the heroes? That was important.
And we need aspiration, don't we, for our young people who are reading these books? So, yeah.
Absolutely.
And can you tell? why is it important for the diverse community to see themselves reflected in books? Perhaps you can say a little bit about your personal experience with your children.
Yeah, and myself. I mean,
Yeah.
really, I think everybody, every single human being on this planet needs to be able to see themselves represented and reflected in a story. And I think that we've still got a long way to go with that. Things have improved, things have changed. A lot of what we do with Books for Change stemmed from my own not being able to see myself in a book. When I was a child, I absolutely loved fairy tales, and I was very much into the sort of the magical side of fairy tales, and I never saw myself. Cinderella was always blonde, blue-eyed. All the princesses were always, fair skinned, and no, none of them had. Well, maybe one or two did in Disney later on, but I'm talking real, stories, and it was always I was never shown there, and it just it does kind of eat away at you in a way. And I'll just quickly tell you a story around something that happened quite recently. We were at a festival where we were promoting Books for Change, and we were selling small items to raise money. And a woman came up to me and she said, "Oh, what's all this about?" And I started explaining. And I said, it stemmed from the fact that as a child, I never saw myself in a book. And she turned to me and she said, "Really? Why don't you just imagine yourself in a book? The princesses might have blonde hair and blue eyes, but can't you just imagine that that's you?" And I was really stunned, to be honest, to silence.
So no empathy at all was shown.
No empathy. And I think, honestly, believe it or not, Ellie, I think there is a lot still of that around of, well, you just get on with it. It's just a story. But to see yourself reflected, for example, when we first started the campaign, Wendy did a lot of research and found this author who's in Switzerland, who's written a story. She's an Iranian woman like myself, and she's written a book with a little Iranian girl in it who's the hero, who goes off and does all this amazing stuff. And Wendy found these books and sent it to me to say, "Look, I found you in a book." I mean, it literally, the child really looks like me, and I can't tell you how that made me feel. It just gave me goose pimples. It was a real moving moment, because I've had that now as an adult. I didn't have that as a child, and I don't want that for other children in our town. I want every child to be able to see themselves reflected. Every child who might have a disability, every child who might be from the LGBTQIA plus community, every child who might be from might be a black child or a child of colour. Like, it's every single human being deserves to be able to see themselves. And that's what Books for Change is about, and that's what I was absolutely looking for in the diverse books that I was judging. So,
and when you started that conversation with the person and they were saying, "Why can't you just imagine yourself?" were they prepared to listen to you and go away reflecting, or was that just, "I don't understand"?
I think it's hard. I mean, this person was a white woman. She herself had blonde hair and blue eyes. The irony of me saying, so I think sometimes it's hard for people to, if they haven't experienced that, they haven't got that lived experience of feeling that way. I think it's difficult sometimes for them to really understand. They need to. Like, it's not okay for them to say that. And I kind of kept saying, I said, it isn't okay for you to say this to me, what you're saying. And she was like, "Well, I'm just having a conversation," and just didn't understand the nuances behind like a white woman with blonde hair and blue eyes and her privileges that she upholds, speaking to me, who is somebody who's telling her that I hadn't seen myself in a book and how that made me feel. So I'm not excusing it. I'm not excusing it at all. Like, but it's deep. Like, there's a lot of work to be done. And
indeed, still today, I agree.
Absolutely.
So, but it's also important that that white people do see these books as well, and that these books with diverse characters are for them as well. It's not, we don't want them separated, do we? We want them part of
No,
the
it's for
no.
everybody. It needs
Yeah.
to be, it should just be normal. Like,
Yes,
this
I
is what's
agree.
frustrating is schools are places that are diverse. We're all from somewhere. It shouldn't be an add-on.
No.
It should just be normal that this is what it is. We've got all these books because we have all these people in the world.
And these books go out to all the pupils or students. They're not, oh, you'll come from, a mixed race family, so this book's for you. It should be for all the children. I've heard that from age 3, bias can start that at such a young age.
Yeah.
And again, you were saying to me, somebody made the offhand remark that children don't see colour. How would you respond to that?
Well, they absolutely do. I mean, the data's there. You've just said yourself that you've read articles and that you've seen, the data that's there that says that that's absolutely not the case, that by the age of 2-3 years old, children are starting to form friendships, and they're looking at, skin tone, and they're looking at how they look, and they are likely to make friends with other children who look like them. So if that's not them seeing colour, what is? I think it's about having an open conversation and not being afraid to have the conversation. And I think there's still a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear, not only in schools, but at home, with families and parents being very afraid to have these conversations, maybe not feeling equipped to have them. And I think that, that's a role that within sort of with what Books for Change is kind of trying to bring. And I was only just having a big long phone conversation with Wendy last night about this, around, is this something that Books for Change can help with? Hour-long sort of quick workshops to start that conversation, to say to families, to say to schools, this is how you would start that conversation around skin colour, different hair, whatever that may be. That's something that people are feeling fearful around having these conversations, because I think what's happening in schools is very much around, we're all equal, we're all friends, everything's fine, everybody's equal, but everybody isn't equal. And that's the reality. And it's not about scaring children, it's about equipping them with the knowledge to understand in an age appropriate way, and done in a gentle way, that we aren't equal, and these are the reasons why. And that really what we're doing is we're helping them, giving them the tools to become allies, to become change makers, so that we don't end up living how we're currently living. They're the future. The children are the ones that can make these changes, because we'll be dead and gone. And then what happens? We don't want history to keep repeating itself. And Books for Change is a tiny, tiny little drop in the ocean, but the ocean is made up of many, 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 many drops. So
yes. And I love your term allies. I think that's really lovely. And again, take on board that we shouldn't be scared of having these conversations. And I think sometimes we are. And particularly, I'm a white middle class woman. I'm scared to have these conversations, but we need to do it.
I like having these conversations with you, Ellie, because I think that we're open with each other, and I think that we will, if we can acknowledge that we will make mistakes. I have a very different lived experience to a black woman. Yeah. I'm not here to say this is, everybody's different, and I can't speak for different people. I only speak my own truth, and I speak for myself and what I have experienced, and how I hope to be able to use that to help other people to see that they can have these conversations, and that it's okay, creating like a safe environment, a safe space for families, for educators, for teachers, for people who work in the library, for anybody that comes into contact with children in particular. That's kind of what I see. I see my lived experience as being able to help to
I
help to
agree.
make
Yeah.
changes.
And we must concentrate on people being individuals as well.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So listen to different people. You just because you've heard one story, that's not representative of all the community.
No.
Can you say a little bit more about when your children had reading books and they were coming home with the not inappropriate, but books that perhaps were,
Yeah, I mean, I did a talk recently at the Quarter House and I spoke about this. I mean, this was one of the real it was one of the real moments of this can't be it. This is how Books for Change kind of was formed in a way. Yeah, I think lockdown meant that we were all at home, we were homeschooling more, we were seeing things more, what was going on in the school, because they were doing Zoom and they were sending things home maybe more so than what they might have done in the past, because obviously everything had to be done at home. And we were getting these books and they were these books that were just white children living in white towns, and it just absolutely did not reflect the reality of the real world, and it absolutely did not reflect our family setup. So I just was like, what are these books? And it was just continual, and I thought, oh, this is the moment that made me realize they don't actually have that many diverse books. Like, they will have some, obviously, but their range is poor, in all honesty. And I think, that's not a dig at the schools. That's not a criticism to the schools. That's a criticism of the government, to be honest. They should be funding this. Every school should have a huge range of diverse books. But the sad reality of it is that they don't. And yeah, we just got really fed up of having these books that just were white children in freaky little towns, that everything was just beige, and it was like, this is not real life. This isn't real life. Like, what are we setting our kids up to think? So that was very much a kind of call to action.
And I think Kent Libraries, we are ahead of many school libraries we do have a lot
absolutely.
But I think we're going to do more though about promoting how to find them on our online catalogue and have more displays. So, but yes, I'm pleased to say when I checked our stock, it was comprehensive. But of course,
and I think. I think there's always it's being aware that the changes needs to be checked regularly.
Yes, we really have got to look at our stock regularly, and we do in Kent Libraries, and we have specific stock librarians who monitor that we're well covered. So yeah, and we want to be. It's not that we're doing it because we have to be. We really want to have a diverse stock. I think we might be near to rounding it up, Emily, but I just wanted to, what can we do individually to make a positive difference? Is there something we can do?
Absolutely. Locally, we've got a lot of campaigns running that need support from the public. So you can find out more about our work on our website, which is booksforchange.co.uk. And there you'll click on the campaigns tab and you'll see all the campaigns that are live. So Canterbury, Hythe, Dover, in particular in this area, because we're talking specifically about Kent, sharing and liking their pages. So these areas are trying to get more diverse books into schools. Folkestone, we're very much we've sort of completed our campaign. We started very early on. We're on our second campaign at the moment, and we've hit our target for that. So we're going to be working with the secondary schools and getting books in, diverse books around consent. But those three campaigns are very much in need of support. The other thing that I would absolutely urge families, in particular parents in particular who might be listening to this, is talk to your school. Lobby your school. It can feel difficult. It can feel very, very hard. We share information. We've got resources again on our website, but also in particular on our sort of Instagram and our Facebook. We share letter template heads that people can download or can just quickly fill in and send off to their senior leadership at schools. What are you doing? What is your children's school doing? What are the books that your children are coming home and reading? What is it that they're consuming? The information that they're consuming. Ask the questions, like as parents who have children in education, in schools, we have a right to ask these questions and we shouldn't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to be seen as that parent, because
Indeed.
that parent can make a change, can make a difference. Even if it feels like you're not and you're battling uphill all the time, a small change could be a huge one for somebody. So they would be the two big things that I would say is just keep talking to your school and please support our campaigns if you can.
And also, if you overhear another parent saying something that you think, not sure that's quite right, again, not be afraid to challenge in a non-threatening way.
Oh, absolutely. I had the same situation recently with a parent who said to me she had been part of a workshop that I had run that her child was involved in, and it was all around skin tone and understanding different skin tones and looking at that and kind of colouring in ourselves. And she basically said that later, sort of, a few weeks after that, a parent had said, oh, I don't think that children see colour, the same old thing. And I don't think it's right that they're having these books. And that parent was able to challenge, that parent felt able to challenge this other parent in a very, not in an aggressive way, not in a sort of, just in a, no, you're wrong. And I know you're wrong because my child saw colour. She came to one of my workshops and she is a child who's got blonde hair, blue eyes, white skin, and came up to me and said, oh, we're different. You've got different skin to me. You've got different hair to me. I'm going to colour you in, and started drawing a picture of me and colouring me and using the different skin tones. And this is me, and then using the different skin tones for her, and absolutely saw that we were different. And this parent was able to challenge the other parent who said, well, I don't think kids see colour, simply because she had witnessed it herself with her own child. So if you can come along to any of our workshops, we're going to be doing something in October half term in Folkestone locally. It's going to be at the Quarter House. There'll be more information on all our social media channels, so you can follow us. But upskill yourself, read the books, learn. Don't expect people of colour, Black women, Black people to do the work, because they're not there to educate. You need to go off and do the work yourself, and come to one of our workshops and see what it's like, because you'll see that children absolutely see colour. They do.
Yeah. I think a lot of people do want to learn more, but don't quite know where to start. So
have a look on our website. There's loads of information on there. We do update it regularly with adult reading materials on there as well, in terms of looking at anti-racism work and unpicking all the unconscious bias that we all have within us. I have it, you have it, Ellie, we all have it. And it's that taking that first step to acknowledge that we have it is a big first step. If we can do that, if we could all do that, if every human being could do that in the world, we would be so much further on with all of this work. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, and thank you, because I know you've got such a busy schedule, and we've managed to squeeze it in, and I'm so grateful for you taking the time out. It's been wonderful speaking to you.
Thank you.
You.
Thanks so much.